If you've ever splurged on a cheap 7-string and then found the neck too thick, the pickup sounding thin, or the whole thing feeling like a kitchen appliance you can't actually play, you know the kind of buyer's remorse that makes you think twice before hitting add to cart. The market is flooded with budget options that promise that extra low string, but most of them end up feeling like a compromise you'll regret after the first gig. That's why I wanted to take a closer look at the Ibanez RGIXL7, the black flat, 7-string that's trying to sit between the entry-level dump trucks and the boutique pro-only models. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the RGIXL7 isn't trying to be a novelty. It's built on a solid Naito body, which is a tone wood you'll see more often in mid-range Ibanez models. Naito sits somewhere between mahogany and maple in terms of weight and resonance, giving the guitar a balanced bite without the extreme heft of a full-size Les Paul-style body. That matters when you're playing for an hour straight in a rehearsal room. You want something that holds its own tonally but doesn't feel like you're lugging a piece of furniture. The neck is a maple and Bubinga blend, finished with Ibanez's signature sleek wizard profile. For players who spend a lot of time shredding or doing intricate chord voicings, that profile can be a godsend. The shape is thin enough that your fretting hand doesn't get cramped, yet the Bubinga core adds a bit of stiffness, keeping the neck from feeling wobbly when you dive into the low B string. The Ebony Fretboard is a nice touch for anyone who values a smooth, fast surface. It's tighter grain and a bit harder than rosewood, which translates to less finger wear over time, especially when you're bending those low strings hard. Now, let's talk tone. The RGIXL7 comes with two black flat humbucking pickups. They're not the high-end DiMarzio or Seymour Duncan sets you might see on a custom shop, but they're a solid match for the instrument's design goals. The neck pickup leans warm and round, giving you that classic metal low-end thump that sits well under a downtuned rhythm. The bridge pickup is a bit brighter, cutting through the mix when you need that screaming lead tone. In my own testing, the combo handled everything from chuggy drop A riffs to clean jazz fusion chords without sounding overly harsh. The real advantage here is consistency. You won't have to fight the electronics to get a decent tone in the studio or on stage. One of the practical strengths of this guitar is its versatility across genres that actually need 7 strings. If you play progressive metal and often drop to A or B, the extra low string gives you that extended range without having to retune the whole instrument. If you dabble in modern jazz or fusion, the Ebony Fretboard and smooth neck make complex chord voicings feel less like a chore. I've seen a friend use the RGIXL7 for a live cover of The Dance of Eternity, where the odd-time signatures and rapid shifts demand a neck that's both fast and stable. He told me the guitar's feel let him move through the 7th-string arpeggios without the usual hand fatigue that can come from a bulkier neck. There are, however, a few hidden trade-offs that you should be aware of before you click buy. First, the weight. The Naito body is solid, and combined with a 7-string setup, the instrument leans on the heavier side of the spectrum. If you're a gigging player who needs to hop on stage quickly, you might feel that extra pound after a few songs. It's not unmanageable, but it's something to consider if you have a habit of playing standing up for long sets. Second, the pickup configuration is fairly straightforward, just 2 humbuckers with no coil splitting or active circuitry. That means you won't have the ability to dial down to a single coil brightness on the bridge without external gear. For most metal and hard rock contexts that's fine, but if you're after a wide palette that includes classic single coil sparkle, you'll have to run a pedal or a separate preamp. Third, the price point. While the RGIXL7 sits comfortably below the high-end boutique 7 strings, it's still a step up from the absolute beginner models you might see on Amazon for under $300. That can be a deal-breaker for someone whose main goal is just to try a 7-string for the first time. The guitar assumes a certain level of commitment. You're expected to already have a decent amp, a good set of strings, and perhaps a bit of experience handling a wider neck. So, who should actually buy this thing? If you're an intermediate to advanced player who already knows you need the extra low string, and you want a guitar that feels like a professional instrument without the boutique price tag, the RGIXL7 makes a lot of sense. It's especially appealing for metal and progressive players who spend a lot of time in drop A or drop B tunings, because